Record. Welcome all. I am Dr. Neva Alexander, the CEO of Nevalliance. Now, Nevalliance, there's two umbrellas to that. Nevalliance, the company, Nevalliance Foundation, the nonprofit organization that empower women. Today we are doing back the global business, and I'm so excited about this because it's been a minute that I've done the global business. I believe in just gathering all these lovely leaders because it's not just about business, it's leaders from around the world that will have the opportunity to be on this platform. We're going to dive right into it because today we have, I call him pastor because he is a pastor, right? A financial advisor and all that stuff. But um, Milton, Pastor Milton James, I'm going to let you do the honors of introducing who you are.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Alexander. As you have said, my name is Milton Garnett James Jr. That's my name. And I was born in London, England. My parents are from Guyana. My dad was an economist with a PhD, and my mom is a retired nurse with a master's living in Brooklyn. Somewhere around 1984, on July 21st, I married the love of my life, Jocelyn Liverpool. On March 15th, however, 2025, I lost her. And this is one of the things that I just want to be able to kind of unpack a little bit later, how life can just throw us some curveballs, whether you're in ministry or in business, things can happen. But nonetheless, from that union, we have two adult children, Andrew and Angelica, and they're my remaining treasures. Now, yes, as you said, I am a pastor and with 40 years in ministry and a financial advisor. And in my practice, I'm serving in the secular marketplace as well as in the sacred, just seeking to create sustainable legacies for individuals, businesses, pastoral estate planning, and so forth. Financial literacy is actually the cornerstone of what I'm about. And I work in a collaboration with a team of experts with over 30 years experience in the financial industry.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry for your loss because I know that is not easy on anyone, especially with all those years,
Mhm.
and love and dedication. So, my condolences.
Thank you.
Um, but I know, you mentioned you're going to talk about it a little later. And of course, I would say lessons maybe that you would like to share based on that. So, as a financial advisor, what's one simple money move
Mm.
you think everyone should, consider right now
Mhm.
for this month? Like, because, we're always thinking about money and growth and, well, me anyway. But what's your advice?
Well, I tell you, I think the first thing we should do is we should be intentional and proactive and actually blocking out time to actually have a financial needs analysis. There's so much distractions, there's so much stuff in our schedules. We're so busy. But if you could just think about it as if you were going to the doctor and you actually schedule a physical. And in doing that, you would be able to get a sense when you do the financial meeting with an advisor to actually see where you are right now, see how it corresponds with what your life goals are, and if there are anything or situations that you have to kind of tweak, whether it's dealing with budgeting, whether it deals with looking at your investment portfolio, looking or reviewing your insurance products that you may have. Some folks have bought life insurance policies, for example, and they keep it in a drawer or in the bank, and they never hear from their agent again. One of the things that I do is that with my clients, I schedule annual reviews, just like having an annual physical, because things change. And I think when life happens, it's interesting. The thing about death is that it's not a question of are we going to die? The question is when, and we don't know that particular uncertain variable. Some folks will get insurance on their cell phones. We get insurance on our houses. We get insurance on our vehicles. We get liability coverage to cover our businesses and so forth. And yet, life insurance sometimes is viewed as it's just a death benefit. And there's so many other dynamics to this particular product. What I love about it is that it's the only ability to be able to create an estate instantly. So, for
Mhm.
example, my dad passed away in 2018. He was a day trader also. I mean, I could remember my dad would be up in the attic and he's watching his stocks. That's what he was all about. He had the mindset to get term insurance, which was about $60,000. But the thing with that was that he outlived the policy. So when he passed, and I'm looking at my mom's affairs, I mean, she was set in terms of the investment portion of it. But my dad did not, because of busy, just being busy, never review the life insurance aspect. And so he did not have life insurance at the time that he passed away. He had the other resources, but you had to pull from those to make things work for him. So I would say to just encourage our viewers, make it an intentional decision. And I'm going to block 1 hour with an advisor, and we're just going to sit down and just let them listen to where you are, see where you want to go, and some things you may need to be revisited. And lastly, for example, when my I was sitting in my kitchen, and here I'm looking around in my home, and I said, okay, my baby's gone. We have this house. What happens to me if I go? Now, being a financial
Mm.
advisor, to my shame, did not have a will done as I should have. We talked about it, but it never happened.
Mm.
So I had to make it my business to get in touch with my attorney, get my will done, my power of attorney squared away, and now I just have to be strategizing about getting a trust in place as well. Because if you just gift money to your beneficiaries without having a trust in place, they're going to be hit with an inheritance tax. So there are a lot of variables, but working with professionals, that's what I would say. The money move would be to make a plan to review your stuff.
And I agree with that money move. And the other day I called my insurance, because I haven't decided to, to do a policy. And they told me, and I need to get it reviewed. I'm just being 100. And they're like, oh, you have to pay up until you're 100. I'm like, I don't even know if I'm going to live that long. Something is
Mm.
wrong with that. I
Yeah,
need to really
yeah,
revisit that.
yeah.
But I'm just curious though, why do you think that, there's fair in our community with insurance, like, because you gave a good example, the benefits and the opportunities, but why I think there's fair, because I see that,
Mhm.
when I say to people, oh, maybe consider insurance, life insurance or health, whatever, they're like, no.
I think part of it is there's an uncomfortable conversation that one would want does not want to have, because you're then kind of stating that, you know, at some point I'm finite. At some point I am going to die, and I don't want to talk about that. I remember one situation. I was with my wife in the hospital, and the person that was next to her, we found out that from just the conversations that she was having with her family, that she was diagnosed with cancer, and she did not want her family to know what was going on. She was talking to either a
Mm.
professional. So the end result was that the lady got discharged, never told her family that she had cancer, and so
Mm.
she just passed. She didn't want to cope with, or she didn't want to deal with that. So I would say fear is the first thing that will prevent us in our communities. Secondly, we are somewhat used to, rather than fund ourselves, we rely on the government. The strategy is, back in the day for baby boomers, is, you go to school, get a college degree, work hard, and you'll have a pension, and Social Security will take care of you. In this current climate, to say the least, which I take it as an opportunity, because there's a Chinese character that the same word for adversity is opportunity. What would happen if
Mm.
you and I became um, more intentional about funding our financial estates? That's one of the vehicles that insurance can do. It's not just about uh, just someone dies and then you just deliver a policy. I love the fact that I could um, provide a comfort to the family and do a service, but also that I can actually deliver to them $250,000 or $1 million policy. I see it all,
Yeah.
hand in hand. But so I would say that yes, um, there needs to be a willingness to have financial literacy. In other words, that where I decide I want to learn about money, I can have all the degrees And but everyone is not an expert in everything, and that's why you need to kind of hopefully find someone that you can trust, and then just kind of let them pour into you the knowledge that you need so you can make sound decisions. There's a famous passage in the Gospel of John, chapter 8, somewhere around where Jesus is having a conversation with the Samaritan woman, and in that conversation, he kind of tweaks her interest and say that I have water that you don't know of, living water. And then she references, and this is one of the scriptures that has really propelled me into my practice. She references, "Are you greater than our father Jacob, who built this well?"
Mhm.
And the thing I love about that is that Jacob constructed a well, and long after his eyes closed, he was able to provide water for generations to come, where they can actually be able to feed their flocks, feed their families. That's how I
Mhm.
liken financial planning. It's a question of developing an estate for the benefit for the future, but also in the present, because many of the business owners that were Ford and Disney that were struggling were able to pull resources from a whole life contract, borrow money from their insurance, put it into a trust so their children are reaping the benefits even now, even though their eyes have closed. And that's generational wealth. And so we just need that kind of encouragement to do those things.
Really like what you said, and finding someone that can pour into you. So, just for those that are watching on Facebook Live, I'm not able to interact with you, but we are here every Wednesday from 12:30, where you can basically come in on Zoom and you can ask questions as well directly, right? So, to you. When we met, it was one of the Black Business Mixer that was at Nassau Community College last year. This year it's going to be at Hofstra. They're sponsoring it this year. So I'm grateful for these institutions that sponsor, what I'm doing, but not just what I'm doing, what I'm pouring back into the community, right? So really appreciate it. And you were saying a story earlier, and I just want you to share it with our listeners.
Sure. So I went to the networking event, and now I'm a pastor, so I'm used to talking to folks. But at this networking event, I was totally petrified. So I'm standing there, and Dr. Alexander walks by, and she just says, "Is that what you're going to be doing?" Just standing there, and she wasn't nasty about it, but she was just basically kind of saying, in essence, you're here to network. And then she went to the stage and handled her business. And I stood there and I said, she's absolutely right. I had to take a deep breath and actually try to set myself up and have enough courage to walk over. Hi, my name is Milton. What do you do? But that encounter kind of rocked me because I had to realize, why are you so petrified? But you just making that mention, it was great.
And thank you. And you know what, with me, and I mentioned, two things. I have to be careful sometimes how I approach individuals because someone may not take it as warmly as you did. Someone be like, what's wrong with her? But at the same time, because I'm an introvert and an extrovert, and I've
Mm,
made it a mission to help everyone that going forward, I look for individuals in a sense that just kind of stand and observe to pull
mhm,
them in because sometimes I want individuals to do that for me. Because sometimes I look and I survey the room. Is there anyone that I know in here? And I basically go towards who I know and then have sometimes when my introvert kicks in to just kind of introduce me to others. Now, while we talk about introvert, extrovert, my field is leadership development, right? And again, you're a pastor and a financial advisor. So you're in two, I would say different leadership roles.
mm.
Somewhat, right? So you basically, you wear the suit and the collar. How has your role, as a pastor shape your leadership style in business, vice versa?
Mm. I so appreciate that question, Dr. Alexander. First, as a pastor, you are a shepherd. You can even use some more up-to-date terms like a life coach because you're basically encouraging people. As a pastor, you're also, the goal would be to model servant leadership. So the sense is that you walk into a room where you're involved in ministry, and the goal is not to have people serve you, but how can I develop this person's after I spend time with them, see what their gifts are, the strengths of their weaknesses, and try to guide them in a way that's very positive. Um, Also, as a shepherd, as a pastor, you are protecting, you're caring for, you're loving on folks, and you're developing your people. As a pastor, you're also strengthening families. You're developing or seeking to encourage and develop the kingdom of God. You also have, as pastor or as a child of God, a global focus, which is when John 3:16 says, "For God so loved the whole world." So that means that I'm going to be stretched, not just with people that look like me, speak like me, but to show the love of God in every avenue. Flipping it in terms of with an advisor has this fiduciary responsibility with various regulations to make sure that you're putting the client first. I see the same thing in terms of having a fiduciary responsibility as a pastor, and that's where the issue of integrity comes in terms of caring for the flock as well. More so as an advisor, you're talking about protecting the assets or creating what I like to call a sustainable legacy for folks, whether it's strengthening their businesses, their families, being able to have funds put away so folks can send their kids to school, but always have in both realms, as a pastor and as advisor, to always put the client first, to put people first. And so that's how I find that my goal is to be able to work with people and develop people and end up leaving or adding value to them rather than just
Definitely
yeah. Mhm.
putting value in people, and some I realize people think leadership is, oh, I'm, the boss, I'm being in charge. No, there's so much more to leadership, right? To cultivate, to mold, it's not just about you.
Right.
It's we, right? So yeah, and just to wrap it on up, we have a few minutes left. Again, guys, Wednesdays, 12 to 12:30. If you'd like to get questions, it would be great if you join on Zoom. So you could contact me to register. And if you want to be a guest, there are a few ways to do that. We will talk about that towards the end. But is there anything, um, Pastor James, that's going on this week, locally, nationally, or even personally, that you would like to share that you find interesting, funny, or, worthy discussing?
I thought about, and I so appreciate again just the invite. And I thought about your particular mission in terms of global leadership, and I came across a quote by James McGregor Burns, and it's from an article called "Prologue to Leadership" in 1978. And this is what he says. He describes basically two type of leaderships. He talks about transitional leaders. He says transitional leaders approach followers with an eye to exchanging one thing for another, jobs for votes or subsidies for campaign contributions. The transforming leader looks for potential motives in followers, seeks to satisfy higher needs, and engage the full person or of the follower. The result of transforming leadership is a relationship of mutual stimulation and elevation that converts followers into leaders and may convert leaders into moral agents. I felt that to share that quote with you in particular, Dr. Alexander, because of the work that you're doing, and in this climate where there's some that portray leadership as bullying. I see it again where you have adversity. I see this opportunity where we could actually help mold folks in terms of understanding what the parameters of true leadership is, and to rather than have a transactional mindset, to seek to make folks become transformative leaders and thereby changing our local politics, our local communities, domestically and even internationally. And so that's what I think. There's so much negative going on. I just want to just hone in on leadership and how we can make things better for folks all around the globe.
Definitely. Thank you so much for that. Really appreciate. So, just some final words. Just want to remind people I have a leadership lab coming up, and that is going to be July 18th. It's going to be from 9 to 2 in Melville, New York. Also going to have one in the city in later in the year. So if you want to be a part of that, again, guys, you could find us and EV is right there in the background, nevalliance.com. That's how you can reach me. But how can they reach you,
Well, I tell you, they
James?
can. Thank you. Thank you. They can reach me at Milton James at blueocean.us.com. Or they can reach me on LinkedIn on Milton G. James Jr. With Blue Ocean Wealth Solutions, where I'm a financial service professional there. And they can connect with me that way.
Definitely. And we'll also have this information. So if there's anyone that wishes to reach out, they'll have it. And guys, again, he's on LinkedIn. So don't be shy, right? So again, thank you. We appreciate you. I'm gonna close out Facebook at this time. So guys, I'm sorry if I wasn't able to interact because it's a little bit hard. I don't have anyone administratively dealing with Facebook, but you know how to get me if you just want to listen. And if you made some comments, I'll reply when I get to Facebook, right, guys? So thank you so much. And for all others, thank you so much. Until next time, that will be next Wednesday. Bye.
Take care, Doc.